Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for joining today's web webinar hosted by the Sikh Research Institute. My name is Kirandeep Kaur and I'll be the host and moderator for today's session. I'll now provide some background on the Institute and also on the presenter, Harleen Kaur. Sikhi connects people with the teachings of Sikhi and strengthens the bond of Sikh community around the world by offering courses and seminars in a variety of mediums. We at Sikhi are now gearing up for our 15th annual Sikh Leadership Program, SIDDHAK, in the beautiful British Columbia. This year, it will be held from July 23rd to August 5th. I would now introduce our presenter, Harleen Kaur. Harleen Kaur is an independent filmmaker and makes her movies under the banner Kaur Films. Prior to making films, she worked as a marketing professional and launched various media campaigns for the consumer product brands. Born and raised in India, Harleen Kaur now calls San Francisco Bay Area as her home. Here, she devotes her time to various organizations, including serving as a member of the jury of the United Nations Association Film Festival. Her other interests include photography and golf. More info can be found at caurfilms.com. And now, without any further delay, I would like to pass it over to Harleen Kaur to begin today's presentation. Harleen?
Hello.
Yeah, Harleen, I'm going to make you the presenter now.
Okay, great.
And we can start.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Harleen Kaur, and I am just so delighted and excited to be a part of this wonderful event. I think Sikhi is doing this great service to everyone to be a part of the live webinar. It's a great forum where Sikhs can actually come and share some of their experiences and also discuss matters of importance. So thank you so much for choosing me for this honor. Today, I really want to share some of my experiences in creating content. I by no means can say that I'm an expert in media, but for the past decade or so, I've been part of this industry, creating content and being part of various facets. So I just want to share my experiences, and I'll be really grateful if all of you can share some of your thoughts as well with regards to the presentation and ask questions for discussions at the end. I'll begin with a brief overview of what we're going to talk about in this presentation today. I'll start with my background. What really is media? What's been my journey like, in which I will share some of my questions, my thoughts, and really what propelled me to get into this field. A little about Kaur Films. I've made a few films in the past, and I'll give you a brief overview of what those films are and why did I really make them. What were some of the challenges that I faced while making them? And of course, the need for changing the narrative.
Harleen?
And yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we cannot see your presentation.
Oh, okay. Is there something? All right. No worries. Sure. Okay, can you see this now?
Yes, we can now.
All right. So I think what I really want to do is share some of the thoughts that, if we don't share and create content, nobody else will do it for us. So the goal is to create content for and tell stories that are really important to all of us. And that's what my entire emphasis will be throughout the presentation. I'll start with a brief background about myself. Kiran was very, very kind to, share some of my background with regards to my education and all. But just to give things in perspective, here are some of the details about me. I'm a daughter of an army officer and granddaughter of an army officer. And what that taught me was I traveled across India and some of the border areas as well. And, there were these different stories that were there around me, always a new culture to expose to. And every time we went to a new station, we would first explore the Gurdwara there as to see, hey, where do we have to go on Sunday? And that also taught me a lot about discipline, about respecting other people and so on and so forth. So that is a really very important part of me. Education wise, I did my master's and I did an MBA from Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. My experience from a professional point of view started with my journey at National Geographic Channel and the History Channel. And when I was there, I used to watch a lot of documentaries as part of my work. And it was just a fascinating world because I used to just go into a different realm altogether and go with the filmmaker to different places and imagine myself being there. I also joined Colgate Palmolive in New York and worked there as in different capacities as a brand manager. Thereafter, I joined Campbell Soups as well. There was a point in my life at this stage where I just stepped back and I said, hey, what do you want to do, Harleen? Is this something that you can carry on for the rest of your life? Or do you want to do something more? And it was at that stage where I felt that, what? I want to do something with regards to media, because that's been my background for almost a decade at that stage. And something to do with Sikhi, because I firmly believe that we need to understand our own culture before anybody else tells us. Also, we want to spread that across as well. So it was at that stage where I felt that, what, I want to do something more. And I quit my corporate job and started Kaur Films. I am also a board member on Sikh Council for Interfaith Relations and do get a preview on what we are doing with regards to interfaith activities. And it's just a fascinating journey that I have been on for the past few years. I'm going to talk a little about the Sikh History podcast that we created and about the documentary films that I'm making right now. So when I quit my corporate job and, started to think about media, the first thing that I came across was to create something with regards to our history. Because if we don't understand our own history, it's very difficult to share things with people. It's very difficult to think and look ahead because I really don't know who I am, where I am from, and what are some of the stories that are being told to me? Are they really, fact or fiction in some ways? So me and my husband, we spent almost 2 years to research, to read a lot of books and create these very little 15 to 20-minute episodes about Sikh history. And the goal was to talk about facts and not stories around it. These are really very well researched series. They are in English, and the reason was that so that it can reach a lot of audiences. We have more than 100,000 views. We have people from almost all countries visit the website, visit our Facebook page, visit the YouTube channel, and have a look at what we have created. And also what we wanted was, you're just driving around. What you want to do in your car, you want to hear something. And we created these podcasts so that you can just listen to them 20 minutes, not a big deal. Usually our commute is that much. And so you can listen to these podcast series and understand a little bit about our history. Also, kids these days are more familiar with the English language. And so, it's much more relatable to them, not just in the US, but across the world. Another reason we created this was we wanted to just put the content out there. So we realized there's nothing on iTunes which are related to Sikh history. So we wanted to just put this information out there for people to view and comment. On the website itself, we have all the transcripts that are mentioned over there. So you can read through it and comment if there is something that you feel was very, very valuable. You could go ahead and actually comment about it as well. So that's what my first goal was. And while we were actually creating this, we had one artist come from India who just wanted to contribute their art. So you can see the art on the left side that's been created by an artist based in India. So collaboration really is one of the keystones for Kaur Films. But when we actually were here at this stage, when we created this wonderful 12-part series about Sikhs, our history, our gurus, I realized that while audio is good, for a radio drive whenever you're going, but the power of visuals is something that cannot be, replaced. So power of visuals is really the key. And we all keep saying that seeing is believing. Why do we say that? We say that because when we see something, it registers really well in our brains. If I just say Harmandir Sahib, all of us will have that image that will just come in front of us. Or if I say something related to Punjab, or some other thing, there'll be an image that will flash into your mind. And that image really stays. And what I want to do, and I would request all the listeners to do, is to create those images, create that narrative, so that it actually stays in everybody's mind. So if you actually create a narrative which says that, Sikhs are present in every single field today. Sikhs are scientists, Sikhs are filmmakers, Sikhs are fashion designers, or what have you. That thing will actually stay almost forever in people's memories. And that is what we all need to do together. Our brains keep that visual. This is all scientific. So I just wanted to start with this, that the brain has the power to keep these visuals stored. And when you look at, some of the things that are happening in and around us today, if we create that positive narrative, then all the problems that the Sikh community has probably faced when it comes to a backlash or anything on those lines in the US or around the world would probably just go away over a period of time for sure. So next time when you actually meet a Sikh, when somebody else who doesn't know anything about the community but has seen a visual meets a Sikh, their perception of a Sikh would be very different because they saw him on the stage, on a film, on a television series, and they had this positive perception about Sikhs. Sikhs are there in media, and I can see that lots of people, some of them mentioned in this slide as well, have done exceptionally well. Valerie Kaur has done beautiful things, made, I think, almost close to 6 to 10 films, and has done wonderfully for our community. Vishwajit Singh, mentioned here as a Sikh Captain America, has done exceptionally well. He just walks around with this shield and stirs the conversation. That's important. when people come up to you and talk to you, hey, who you are, what are you doing? And when that, foot in the door is there, you can actually start a conversation. You can tell them more about who you are, what you stand for, what are your values, what you want to accomplish, and so on and so forth. That dialogue is extremely important. That awareness is very important. So next time, some of the people just shown in this picture would see another Sikh, will have that image of Vishwajit in their mind, or will have an image of a positive role model in their mind. And that is extremely critical. And as a mother of two children, I have a 1-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. When I see them growing up, I see that, they're looking for these role models. They're looking for people whom they can look up to. Right now, maybe their teachers are their role models, but tomorrow when they step into the real life, into real life fields, when they go interact with the public, they want to feel confident. They want to feel confident about who they are, their own background, their religion, their culture, and so on and so forth. We have done extremely well so far, but is that enough? No. We need to do a lot more. We have these great role models in front of us, but we need more such role models. Varis Ahluwalia has been featured in so many films. He's done great work with fashion designing. But is that enough? No. We have more than 3 lakh films that have been produced in Hollywood. I'm just talking about commercial films. Almost 1,200 films are being produced every year in Bollywood as well. But how many films actually feature a Sikh? How many films actually feature a Sikh as a lead protagonist? Somebody who carries the film on his shoulders? Not many. Yes, we are proud of the work that maybe Daljit Dosanjh is doing or some of the other people are doing. But, there are few people. And we need to do a lot more in that field. We need to do more such that tomorrow we actually have more stories to share, to tell. Some of our children are actually going to create this. We have some exceptional work being done by Gurvin Ahuja, who's actually creating ad campaigns for Sikhs. A fantastic initiative, and I'm all for it. But that is the first step. We need to do more than just an ad campaign. We need to educate at every forum that we can use to spread the message of who we are, our culture. Media, for a lot of us, means a lot of things. But the 3 basic tenets of media, they are to inform, to educate, and to entertain. And let's just talk a little more about these things. A lot of us watch news and we see that most of our information either comes from, say, let's say, newspapers, or even looking at YouTube videos, or just watching television. We inform ourselves as to what is happening in the world around us. Similarly, we also educate ourselves on, let's say, sugar is not the best thing on earth or something else. Education is a key aspect of media. Once it informs you, it also educates you about certain things that either you already know and it's reinforced, or you don't know and that's new information which your brain then processes, and it educates yourself that, you know what, I now understand it. Besides that, we also entertain ourselves with media. We find different serials, television series, or films to make us, smile, or just, take us away from what we are doing right now. But media also has other effects on us. And I'm just going to share a quick video as to what media can do. I hope the volume comes through here.
The media is generally believed to influence people. and the many ways in which individuals and society may be influenced by both news and entertainment mass media are referred to as media effects. It's hardly controversial to say that these media sources can affect our view of the world, but let's talk a little about the ways they can do that. Priming. Media messages may help us to recall old ideas, knowledge, or experience. For example, a news story about the French presidential election might trigger thoughts about the French economy, memories of a trip to Paris, or remind a person to put brie on their grocery list. Agenda setting. Also called gatekeeping, this refers to the fact that the media controls the information we get, and therefore what we think about. Editors have a lot of power here, because they are ultimately the ones who decide what we're thinking about. Framing. Frames are the particular treatment or spin applied to a message. Often this ends up shaping our own opinions of the news, and who the good guy is in any situation. While agenda setting is choosing which stories to tell, framing is choosing how to tell them. Cultivation. After a lot of hours in front of the TV, people start to blur the lines between the real world and the one on TV. For example, based on the number of programs about police, you might guess that more than 1 in 10 men work in law enforcement, when really it's 1 in 100. Of course, some media messages, like ads and public information campaigns, are designed to change our attitudes or behavior. Factors that increase the likelihood of success include likability, credibility, or attractiveness of the source, the arguments used, and people who seem to agree with them. Media also plays a role in persuading people to adopt a new idea or practice. Often they first communicate messages about the new idea, which then spreads through interpersonal networks expanding over time to include social leaders, peers, and the community. This eventually leads to the adoption of the idea or innovation, reaching a critical mass. In today's world, it's impossible to avoid media influence, but by understanding the way it works, you can win back control of your perception and seek to have a balanced view of the world and the people in it.
So that was just a sense of, what media can do. And we all get this idea that media controls what needs to be shown as well. So specifically television media, we actually get to know certain things, yes, but they choose the topic and they choose how to do it. Whereas if we ourselves are creating content that is out there, then we also have the power to create content and create stories that really reflect us. And that is extremely critical. If we tell our own stories, if we actually want to share some of our thoughts and create the content ourselves, we have control over what we want to show and project. And that is extremely critical in today's world. A lot of us feel that when we go to YouTube or we go to Facebook or whatever, they are showing things to us, or we can just click on things which are really trending or so and so forth. Actually, no. There's a lot of data science behind it, and there's a lot of analytics that go behind understanding what you as a consumer want to see or want to hear or want to just whom you want to interact with. And as a result, only those things are shown to you again and again. And imagine when you keep seeing those things again and again, there is a perception that is built. And that perception may not be the right one. And that is something very, very critical for all of us. If we can change that perception, if we can create a new perception of who we are as Sikhs, what we stand for, how integrated we are with the communities, how giving we are, how many professions we are in, we can change a lot of things. So, my whole journey started when I was, sitting and understanding how the podcast really works and understood that, there's something more to visual media that I need to do. I realized that not a lot of films or documentaries have a Sikh protagonist. How many of us have seen a film on Netflix, for example, which features a Sikh protagonist? Not many, maybe one or two. And I'm really talking about films which have uh, somebody who takes the whole film on its shoulders. How many Sikh filmmakers are there? Not many. So the need of the hour is to create content and share it with the rest of the world. That content will be the king going forward. And that is something we all need to do, not just me as a filmmaker. Whoever is listening right now can contribute to creating that content. And how are we going to do that is something I'll share with you in a bit. So I created this whole thing on Kaur Films, and the goal was, fourfold. I think I'll start with educating. Education is very, very important, but it's not about harping how best we are. It's about showing with examples. I'll share something that happened very recently. My film was selected by United Nations. At that platform, I had a choice of, just going ahead and showcasing the film and maybe coming out, or do something more at that event. And for that, I had to take an initiative of talking to a few people and getting things done. So what we did was we did showcase the film because it was chosen, but we also had turban tying outside. And we also had langar come from San Jose Gurdwara Sahib as part of the whole event. We didn't really have to show or talk a lot about religion or so on and so forth. We just did it by example. And when people, experienced turban tying, they understood what turbans are like. A lot of people came up to us and said, you know what, I thought they're too heavy. Or I didn't know that you have so many colors of turbans. Or they came up to us and said, I didn't know that women actually wear turbans. So there were, these questions or comments that came out, which, at least made us talk to them, to share some of our experiences, to sort of educate them as to who we stand for, why a turban, why colors, why women, why so many other things that are associated with a turban. And that was really great. What we also want to do is to collaborate. Collaboration with other artists is extremely critical. We don't want that, if there's one filmmaker, he's doing something great, then he'll pull down the other filmmaker. No. What we as a community need to do today is to bring up everybody. Whoever is a filmmaker, whoever is a fashion designer, whoever is a social media creator, whoever wants to write something, edit something, create music, we need to encourage each other. And there's a fascinating story that's happening in UK right now, where there are artists who are collaborating with each other. There's a Pentacular artist, Inquisitive, and so many others who actually have created a sort of a collaboration. And whenever they go out and exhibit their work, they work together and they show each other's work. They encourage each other and they tell each other that, you know what, go here, understand this way. There is a new market here. This is another place where you can distribute. That is very critical, because this way we can create an infrastructure, a base, not only for artists that are there right now, but also for people who are up and coming. If somebody wants to be an artist, where does that person really start? If somebody wants to be a filmmaker, where does that person really go? Is there somebody out there who can actually help? Is there somebody who can, give you an overview of this is what the industry is like? These are the people that are here. This is how I can help you, and so on and so forth. That is extremely critical for our community today. What we also wanted to do was create content. And I'm harping about it. It might sound repetitive, but that is really the key. Not just create content when it comes to a complete film, which is like a multi-crore film. No, I'm talking about content even from your iPhone. It's all accessible today. You just need 5 minutes and a good story to tell, and that story will be out there for everybody to see. We need to create that content which reflects our own culture. It reflects who we are. It reflects our achievements, our thoughts, our vision for the future. Also, what we want to do is, as a result of creating everything, effect change. They actually say that if you want to change the perceptions, any kind of perception, you have to change the stories that come out. And if we change the story, the narrative, then we can effectively change the perception of people about how they look at us as a community, how they look at us as an individual. All of us look at somebody else and we stereotype them. We say, oh, let's say she's a woman, she's pregnant, she can't do much. But when they actually turn around and do something great and show you that they can achieve a lot, that perception in your mind changes. And that is the power of creating visuals. That is the power of creating a story that will change that narrative in your mind. So that is the reason we created Kaur Films, and today we have a collaboration with so many artists. Another thing that we are doing, which is sort of fascinating for me, is some of the team members that I have as part of my crew are actually not Sikhs. And consciously, when I did this or take that decision, it was also to say that I want to educate the crew about who Sikhs are. So, for example, the camera person that we have in our films is actually an African American who's wonderful, who's great when it comes to professionalism. But he did not know anything about Sikhs. So for our first film, when he actually went to the Gurdwara Sahib, it took us at least 3 or 4 sessions to educate him completely about who we are, what is a Gurdwara, what do we do there, what is a langar, how is langar created. And he was just so fascinated with the culture, the whole setup, and also amazed that he's been in the US for more than 50 years and did not know so much about Sikhs. So I think, like I said, we can use different platforms to educate people, to make that change happen. And if we all do our bit, then there'll be no issues going forward, at least for our next generation, about identity. I'm just going to, at this point, share the clip from my first film, The Odd Couple, just to give you a sense of what that film was about. It's just a trailer.
My wife has a term or a phrase for Parveen and I. She calls us the odd couple. I'm a big white guy, 6 feet tall. He's a short Indian guy, looks very different than me, yet we still go out and train together.
Decision to keep my hairs was definitely mine.
I made a choice to have my leg amputated.
I have my hair and beard to deal with every event. It just creates extra time and has its own challenges.
I have to change prosthetics between every event, between swimming to bike, bike to run. Regardless of those challenges, I still made a choice to compete.
Despite some of our outward appearances, which people may see as limitations, we don't see them as limitations, but as inspirational choices of life.
There is a way to overcome just about anything. It's 70% mental, 30% physical.
So that was my first film. It was called The Odd Couple. And this film was more about Sikh athletes. You know, there was a point in time where athletes in India specifically were all Sikhs. They did wonderful things. We had Milkha Singh and so many other people who achieved great heights. But today, when we look back and we see the same country, we see the same state, we just look at the problem. A lot of these athletes have a problem with their appearance and think that that's a challenge. But through this film, we wanted to showcase that here was a person, Parveen Singh, who is in the US and is actually in a sport of triathlons where time is of the essence. But he doesn't want to give up on his faith, or he doesn't even look at it at the end as a huge challenge. He has imbibed his faith. He wants to keep Sikhi and yet achieve glory when it comes to his sport. So just through this one film, we could showcase that you can really overcome challenges, no matter what those challenges are. And we paired him with Jeff, who is a below-the-leg amputee. Both of them chose their sort of paths of being a triathlete themselves. And that is very critical, that you showcase somebody on screen, and on the face of it, they are extremely different people. Physically, and also their goals are different when it comes to their real life. But what's the common thread? The common thread is to be a triathlete. And just that visual of having these two people on screen was amazing. A lot of people came up to us and said, hey, we've never seen a white guy and a Sikh on screen in one frame together, and especially in this area of sports. Extremely rare act. But for us, it was such a normal thing that yes, on a day-to-day basis, we interact with the people around us in the US or in other countries, and they look different than us. Then why is it so rare to see them on television, on a screen? But it was. The film really was showcased in different film festivals. It was also later picked up by United Nations. But it was very nice to see the film at the Parliament of World Religions. Because at the Parliament, there were not too many films that were showcased. So having the honor of being handpicked by them was great. And, you know, we had a beautiful audience when we were there. And when they came up with thoughts and suggestions and how this film was very different, it was just a great honor. And later, when nowadays we receive comments by people and they say, hey, we saw this film and today my husband is running a marathon, or they are taking up some things that they've not done before, or they could just get influenced and overcome a challenge. I think that is the real reward. That is something that we are really looking for. But also, this is just one film. If we have tens and thousands of such films out there, then just becoming a triathlete, an athlete, or overcoming any challenge just becomes like a normal thing. This is not a different film. Come to think of it, right? Now I'll leave you with another thought. Is this reality? Well, this is reality. Usually all superheroes are white, male, have these bulging biceps, and they have been there since the 1930s. But can this be a reality? Yes, it can be a reality. Why can't it be? Because look at it, a superhero, it's not what's outside, it's what's inside. It's about good versus evil. It's about taking the right steps. It's about doing justice. It's about protecting people who don't have the means. And if that's the case with a superhero, then Vishwajit Singh can really be a superhero. There is no stopping him. But here's another clip, and I'll just show this to you and leave you with another thought to process.
Imagine a plane is hijacked in mid-air. A superhero takes on the hijackers and helps land the plane safely. On landing, this superhero is arrested only because he looks different. This fictional sequence is extracted from a comic book, but unfortunately, people are judged based on their looks.
Violently takes him down, then cuffs him for a crime that he did not commit. Hi.
So, a lot of us would think that superheroes can happen, but it's a huge task to do it. And that's what my film, JSV Superhero, would be dealing with come this summer. This film is about three people who are challenging stereotypes, something that we face on a daily basis at different parts of our lives, be it as a woman challenging gender stereotypes, racial stereotypes, or just Vishwajit dealing with appearance-related stereotypes. Why am I doing this film? I could have taken another biography and showcased it on screen. But my goal is to, deal with subjects which are very contemporary, which are happening right now, and that's something that can be shown on screen as well. So if you look at Vishwajit, it's his fascinating story of, how he went to India, then came back. He actually got his hair cut, but just before 9/11, he became a Sikh with pagri and everything, and how he was stereotyped and looked down upon and called various names. And what did he do with it? He actually took a pen and through the art of cartooning came back to educate people. With his whole costume, cosplay, he actually talks about what it really means to be a superhero, not just from the outside, but from the inside. That education is important. He goes to various schools in New York. He's part of SALDEF today. And he talks about various things which relate to Sikhs. Just his presence alone at the Republican National Convention or even during the inauguration earlier this year, he was able to make a mark. And he actually talks about compassion. It's a different story. We also have an African American because African Americans are no different than any of us. And Kate Knight also talks about the problems when it comes to racism. A lot of us look at an African American and have different perceptions. But he actually breaks those perceptions using comics and cartoon arts. He talks about different facets of African American life which people think are given, but that's not true. And just using humor, just using simple things like, one of his art actually shows he goes to a white policeman and he says, how many bullets do you need to shoot an unarmed black man? And the entire thing is, he says, bam, 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 and it says something on the lines of 41 times. It looks humorous, but it has a very, very serious message. Eileen Kaur, She is the creator of Super Sikh Comics, co-creator of Super Sikh Comics. She's done extremely well. You would say that, oh, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal. There are not too many comic book writers who are women. There are not too many comic book writers who are writing action-based comics. And there's probably just one comic out there with a Sikh protagonist, with a Sikh superhero. That is the main thing. And for this film, we went ahead and did a huge Kickstarter campaign to raise funds. And we got a lot of support from everybody. As you can see, that almost all Sikh organizations gave us that support, shared our post on social media. You have United Sikh, Sikh Coalition, SALDEF, Sikh Foundation, Sikh Channel, everybody came together and said, you know what, this is an important film. The film has certain elements which are very critical. It actually is a mainstream documentary. Secondly, it deals with a subject that is very relevant today about stereotypes and racism. It actually features, on the face of it, 3 different people who are not related, but they actually have a common thread. Another thing that is very fascinating is that they are talking about stereotypes, but with a backdrop of comic books and comic book creators. So there is an element which is very related to our own culture, but yet at the same time is mainstream. And the goal for this film is to really get it out there on Netflix or some of the other platforms so that it can be showcased on screen. We also got a lot of support from NBC and San Francisco Film Society, which doesn't really pick up a lot of subjects, picked up our film. One fascinating fact was that when we were raising funds for this film, we are still short of money, but when we were raising funds for this film, we realized that Kickstarter has lakhs of projects which come through it, and less than, I would say, 30 projects out of maybe 2 lakh plus that are there are anything to do with Sikhs. And only a few of them were actually funded successfully on Kickstarter. So I think we do need to do a lot of things together as a community. Here are some of the challenges that I faced when it comes to creating these films. Role models and guidance. There are tons of people out there, but how many Sikh role models do we have? How many of them are really approachable? And what I really want is, while we did receive a lot of support, maybe a new person who wants to make films needs more access to people who are out there who have accomplished so many things. We need that to happen. Another thing is talent repository. And that was very critical for us, that, hey, I want to make a film, but how do I get to an editor? How do I, even get to somebody who will create music for us? For our second film, we just reached out to El Fresh the Lion, who's based in Australia. He's a Sikh rapper. He just gave us his music. He says, you know what, I believe in your project, and here are some of the songs that I have created. It's fantastic. But that talent repository, if it's available to everybody, that if you want an editor, these are the few editors that I have worked with in the past that you can interact with, and you can go from there. That would be wonderful. Support infrastructure is very critical. If we can create that support system for our new filmmakers, for our filmmakers who are sort of struggling, and say, you know what, we can do this for you in order to make your film, your television series, your social network webcast happen, that will be fantastic. If we can support our filmmakers with finances and say, you know what, here is a scholarship, great. We still are struggling to raise $20,000 more for our film. which I know is maybe a small amount for a lot of people, but given our current state and putting in all our savings, it's difficult for us to make sure that how do we complete our film. Bandwidth. For a person like me who has two young children, there are just so many things that I can do. So we need somebody who can support. And media education overall in the Sikh community is very, very critical. A lot of people don't take films and documentaries and television series and social media that seriously. But if we can educate people that, media is very critical. What you share on Facebook, what you do on YouTube is very critical in creating that image. Then that is a huge step forward. So next time when they see a film who's raising film money for Kickstarter or doing something else, they will wholeheartedly go, leaps and bounds to support it. We really need to change that narrative. I can't harp upon it, but just this ad of Gap with Varis Ahluwalia shows everything possible, tells you a lot about Sikhs, tells you about how accomplished he is, how confident he is, how great he looks in the clothes that he's wearing, and so on and so forth. You don't have to harp upon that, see, he's a Sikh, he has turban, he has a beard. No, just the image says it all. Similarly, there are so many other people who are out there, and what we need to do is showcase their stories, be it comic book creators, these artists, these people who are doing fantastic philanthropic work. MasterCard CEO who is doing such great work. Every forum that you see him with the pagri, you just feel so proud and you say, wow, what fantastic work. You have Major Kalsi. You are doing so many things as a community. We just need to showcase it. There are other communities which are actually doing a lot of stuff, and we can, maybe take a leaf from them. How they have so many film festivals. Sikh Film Festival, Sikh Lens is doing a fantastic job, but there's just one Sikh Lens, and maybe they are spread in few cities in the US and Canada, but we need to do more. We need to have so many film festivals, and we need to support these film festivals. And, I just want to leave everybody with this thought as to what all we can do. We feel that, I don't know how to, create content. I don't know how to use a camera. But can you, give financial support? $5, $10, $100, whatever that is. Can you provide that? Is there a way you could help build that infrastructure? Can we create an institution whereby we can have something available for new filmmakers? Can we actually use our own social media presence to spread the word of other filmmakers? We have so many friends there. If we keep sharing some of these inspirational YouTube videos that somebody else creates, can we actually do something more there? Can we as a community encourage our children to create that content? I think Panthik Digital Voice is doing a fantastic job. But when it comes to Sikh camps, can we spare half a day to at least the minimum to tell them as to how to create content? And if we can have maybe a few days at Sidak or some of the other camps that are out there to encourage children that this is our future. Go ahead, use your iPads, your iPhones, your other devices, and create that content. Whatever story you want to tell, create it. 2 stories would not go well for them, but the third one, they will learn. Can we all as a community also collaborate with each other and make sure that we come out as a united front? We can all come together and encourage, what? Hey, this is where you need help. Let me just step in as a volunteer. What? I'll just come and, give you some sandwiches while you are shooting. If some filmmaker is shooting, can I just be a part of it and, observe and say, what? let's say a huge big filmmaker is in town shooting for a film, and I just want to learn their techniques. Can I just be a part of that for a day and say, I'll just sit around, not do anything, not mess around, but observe? Can we do that? Can we, if we don't want to do it in front of the camera, can we write stories? All our dadis and bijis and paijis and babajis, they have such fascinating stories. Can we actually write them down somewhere? Can we contribute by, using our editing techniques? We all hum a song or two for our kids. Can we create that music? Even I was just thinking that, I have two little kids, and on a daily basis, I have to cook up at least 5 stories for them when they go to sleep. I need to write them down too. Can we all sit down, create those films? And if we know somebody who is such an accomplished person, the first doctor to arrive at 9/11 was a Sikh, and so many other fascinating stories that are out there. Can we sit down as a community, create those stories as documentaries, as films? Because content is the future. If we don't have the right content, if we don't actually showcase our content to the world, it's not going to be the best thing. But if we do, if we showcase what content is, that will be really very, very critical. Because if we don't tell our own stories, if we don't showcase who we really are from a culture point of view, who Sikhs are, who we stand for, which professions we are in, nobody else will do it. Nobody else would do justice to it either. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening in. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Harleen, that was really wonderful insight into Sikh media. We sure need to do much more than what's being done. And it's great that you gave us idea on how can we, go out and do things. Yep. We are ready to take questions. Please send us your questions in the question panel. All right, we have Vivek Singh. He said that thanks for this enlightening presentation. Kudos to the presenter. We're waiting for the questions. Please put in your questions. Until we're waiting, I actually do have a question, Harleen.
Sure, go ahead.
So, in your presentation, you told us like how we can go and contribute. But what if somebody has an idea and they want to, make a film out of it, something? So how can you help them? Or what could be the first step, they can take?
I think if anybody has an idea, and I am 100% there to support. They can run the idea past me, they can have a good discussion, they can just reach out to me at my email. That will just be like the first step. And from there, if there's certain things that I can help them, I'll do that. If not, then I can guide them as to, where they could go. So I think that could be an ideal first step.
All right, that's great. Okay, Mickey Olak says, instead of showing the current slide, please replay the slideshow.
Replay the whole slideshow?
So yeah, the whole presentation, I think he's asking. Yeah, there's a lot of information that you put out. It's, cool stuff.
Sorry. Is there a particular slide? Because there are 20 slides and not sure of what you want to do.
Mickey Olek, do you know? Can you tell us if there's any specific or the whole slideshow? You can just do the slideshow. It's gonna keep running, I guess. All right. Okay, he says nothing in particular, but just the whole slideshow, please. Um, Danish Singhrar, he's asking, how can we gain exposure to the process of filmmaking and get experience in the field?
Um, so there are various ways in which one can do that. So the question is, how do we get exposure overall? One is going through the educational route in terms of a full-fledged degree, right? That is one aspect of it, in which case there are colleges like Chapman University who are doing a fantastic job. On the other hand, if it's something which is much shorter, like we have the Media Center here in Palo Alto that runs short courses, which are maybe 4 or 5 days or just weekend courses. And I'm sure if you tell me which community you are in, I could certainly check and let you know, because these media centers are created uh, in different cities, and their purpose is just to do that, to educate people on media. Another aspect is just go on YouTube with specific videos that you can watch and educate yourself at leisure as well. So, and these are all sort of shortcut avenues that you can just get a bite size. That if I want to learn editing, if I want to learn overall how filmmaking is done, as a cursory look, you can have these videos as well. In different Khalsa schools, specifically in California, Pantic Digital Voice is also holding a one-day session by some of the Chapman University students, and they come over and go through a complete presentation and teach you as well. So that is another way of getting yourself educated in a sort of a shortcut manner as well.
All right, I hope that answered your question. Uh, Next question is from Neil Singh, and he's asking, how can we best engage others around us to make people interested in Sikh mainstream issues?
So there are various ways, and I think one critical thing that I have learned is that we need to be very clear as to what we want to talk about. Also, we don't have to come from a point of view that, hey, we are the best, because the other person would come back and say, hey, no, 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 we are better, or we are best as well. So I think we need to be very clear of what we want to share and what is the message or the idea that we want to share. Come from a complete understanding of it's a topic that we want to discuss and not show that we are superior or inferior to anybody. And third, engage in things that the other person also relates to. Now, if the other person is somebody who's into, let's say, presentations, then showing him an audio piece might not be helpful. If the other person wants to engage in, say, experiential learning, then taking that person to the Gurdwara and having a conversation would be very important. I think it also is important to understand what would work best with your audience, be it your friend, a colleague, or somebody else. So that's how I will approach it when it comes to a specific topic. Question is, are there people who are interested? There are people who are definitely interested in what Sikhs are, and there are people who are very open-minded, unlike what's really shown on television today. People are very open about understanding another culture, understanding another religion. So we ourselves need to take that initiative of going out there and making sure that the message is clear in a tone and manner that is also understood by our audience.
Okay. Right. There's a few more actually. So it's Harminder Singh. He is from India, and he says that I've seen a lot of daily soaps and movies that portray Sikhs in a wrong way and even in a contradictory manner. Whom should we address these issues to? The most common one is like Bara Vaj Gaye thing.
Um, so I think you bring in a very, very important point. And the reason for that is we are not creating our own content. You know, if we create our own content, this thing will never happen because we understand who Sikhs are. And something that we need to counter, when it comes to issues which are negative, how do you counter a negative thing? You counter it not by saying, oh, you know what? You are talking about us in this manner, we'll talk about you in another derogatory manner. That never works. What works is putting out positive stories. And I've seen that on social media. For example, if something like this comes up, or some of the other jokes that go around, we ourselves should stop sharing it. We ourselves should reach out to whoever has created it, and one can find it out online, and then reach out to that person and say, hey, you know what? I think Sikhs are doing much better, and here are some of the things that you should know about. And I saw lots of videos where this issue is brought up, but then there are people who actually created videos when there were floods in different parts of India, and they were Sikhs who are coming up with langar and reaching out to them with these packets, and then there's a caption at the bottom which say that here's what Sikhs actually do. I think that speaks volumes. So you're countering sort of a negative thought with a very, very positive message. You're not saying, hey, what you're saying is wrong and derogatory and don't do that again. You're saying this is what Sikhs really stand for. And if you have, let's say, 1,000 more videos like that of that one langar thing, there's a dam that's being closed in about 2 lakh people were evacuated in California just last week. The story that came out were that there's a gurdwara that is welcoming all these refugees, or not really refugees, but people who are fleeing these areas. And a lot of these people said, hey, I felt like a refugee, but I got shelter in a gurdwara. That is the story. And we need to build more on those stories. So if you look at it, if we have more such positive stories coming out, more thousands and thousands are created like this, then those negative stories will have no place. They will not show up on your WhatsApp or newsfeed or what have you. So if you and I and all of us listening into this call and probably watching these webinars later, create these stories, create these little videos, then I think the future looks very, very bright for a community, and the negative thoughts will just go away.
Right, and on that note, actually, I have seen a few videos. They're just going around on social media or WhatsApp groups where there's a group of young kids, young modern Sikh kids. They're playing basketball and they're discussing this, like why are we so famous for, why people say Bara Baj Ke, because there's a reason, and you have turned it into a comedy kind of thing. So that was cool that somebody got out and did it. So here's another question from Amarpal Singh. He says, how are you supporting Sikhs who are already making documentaries on films? They have complaints they don't get support from Sikh community.
So I'm in that boat as well. But what I'm trying to do is, reaching out to them and seeing what can we do together. There are, filmmakers even in India who are doing such wonderful work, and anything and everything that I can do in my capacity to support, be it sharing it on social media, some of their projects that they are coming up with and they need support. There's one person, I'm just blanking out on the name, but he's won about 41 awards, and he's a filmmaker, a Sikh filmmaker based in Hyderabad region, and he's making a film on farmer suicides, and he wanted support. So sharing that kind of information on your social media would be a very basic thing, but that's something that we can all do. If that person needs financial support, whatever is in my capacity, I don't think I can spare thousands of dollars, but whatever little I can do, I do that as well. if they're looking for editors and music players or things like that, I try and help them connect with those people as well. Another thing that is wonderful is when we go to, film festivals like the Sikh Lens. There are other budding filmmakers out there. So sitting down, talking to them, and working on some projects together would be a wonderful thing to do as well. And this November, when I was there, I met with such wonderful filmmakers who had great perceptions about, what they need to do, great ideas coming forth. Going forward, we would certainly be discussing and working on things together. So that's sort of my area in which I can contribute at present. But if we can build on Kaur Films and make it into a reality, maybe build it like a studio, like your Fox and 21st Century Fox and some of the other studios that are out there, then it's going to be a whole different ball game. Then it's going to be about creating much more content, supporting it in a much bigger way than I can do it right now in my capacity. So the larger goal is to have that vision of having a studio come forth and support everybody who is in this area and wants to do more for the Panth.
Next question is from Rupinder Singh Rana. He's from India, and he says, "What is more helpful to educate young generation? Educate only about contemporary Sikhs heroes or historical heroes?"
I don't think we can be confident if we don't understand our history. If we don't understand who we are, what we stand for, why are we who we are today, and who's responsible for us being such a calm today, it'll not be fruitful. We need to understand about, Baba Buddha Singh and all our gurus who've done such wonderful work. We need to understand our heritage. We need to learn our history. We need to understand why do we do so many things that are just part of our culture. Once we understand that, that's sort of like, the basic level that we need to definitely understand. From there on, we need to then show our next generation that, there are lots of people who are already accomplished and are doing such great work. That's when they have that vision that, beyond a doctor or an engineer, I can become, let's say, a filmmaker. I can become a fashion designer. I can actually play basketball for the NBA. I can, do so many things which are unheard of. We can become professors. We can, be part of the music industry. We can be anchors in television. We can do so many things which are really beyond us as of now. So we need to ground them in terms of history of where we are, where we have been, but also showcase what are there, what is happening around us today, and what we all can accomplish going forward. So to answer your question, I think both are important, because if we just showcase them what's happening around the world and what you can achieve, they'll not be grounded enough to have that pride in the community. Once that pride is there, once that is ingrained, that's when we look out and say, hey, so many people are doing it, so why can't I? Why am I crying about my little challenges? There are people in the US who have actually gone ahead and done so many great things, but they've also gone back and followed a passion. Bhai Tajwendra Singh, for example, born and brought up in the US, is now a Hazuri Ragi at Harmandir Sahib, because that was his passion. And I think there are different stories like this that need to come out both ways. Need to be proud of our history and also think that we can do a lot in the future.
Great answer. Okay, there's one of the last ones. It's again from Mickey Olak, and he says, "The world is going through a lot of natural mishaps. Sikhs are coming out in a big way to open gurdwaras and hearts. These gurdwaras are not professionally ready to gain mileage. So movie makers like you and others, yourself and others, are you guys making some generic publicity, small clips that can be played to those times to link Sikhs help?
So I think the point is correct that we as a community are doing exceptionally well in helping the society around us. Are we taking advantage of it and getting the message out about why are we doing it, how are we doing it, and how helpful it is, to other people who are in the gurdwaras right now? I don't think we've done enough. We need to do a lot more. Am I doing something directly? Frankly, I'm not doing anything which is in going to the Gurdwara myself and creating that content. However, am I doing other things? Like I said in this presentation, that can I do something more in my capacity right now? Yes, I am. The answer is that sharing it on Facebook, sharing it on social media, commenting a little about it, creating that perspective about why is it important if it's not covered in that news article itself is very critical. And that is what I am doing in my capacity at present. So I guess a lot of us, have that in us to contribute in different facets. Maybe not right now, just because of the fact that I'm in the midst of a film. I have 2 kids. I am unable to leave them and go to that particular Gurdwara Sahib. But can I, in my capacity, do something more? Taking that first step is critical. I don't think I can take 100 steps in that direction right now, but can I volunteer? Which I do. Can I spread the word? I do. Can I talk to other collaborators, tag them on the Facebook post, write articles, and so on and so forth? Yes, I am. So there are different ways in which I am also helping, but not directly in terms of creating content.
Okay. I think that's an end to our Q&A session, and Mickey says thanks a lot. All right, and we are almost toward the end of our webinar too. I want to thank you all for your questions and time. And in case you have more questions later, you can always reach out to Harleen Kaur on her Facebook page. And I'm not sure, Harleen, if you're on Twitter.
Yeah, it's all Kaur Films, at Kaur Films on Twitter. On Facebook, it's Kaur Films, or just generally go to kaurfilms.com and you'll have contact details there.
Right, so you all can reach out to her for any future queries. And please be reminded that these webinars are provided for free, but there is a cost associated with the technology and administration. If you feel you have benefited from this particular webinar or others in the past, please consider making a donation to Sikri or becoming a webinar sponsor. More details can be obtained in the follow-up email that you will receive or by email us at info@sikri.org. A reminder to everyone, please wait a few seconds for the link to appear on the follow-up survey. Your feedback is extremely important to Sikh Research Institute, and we appreciate your time. I would actually like to hand it back to Harleen Kaur for some of closing comments, if she has.
Thank you so much, Kiran. I think what Sikri is doing with these webinars is just amazing. I think these things will stay on the web, on the net, forever. And it will help people. Not just this one presentation, but all the other work that you have done is just great for the community. My only suggestion to everybody listening in is that please contribute in any which way you can to make media happen. Through your iPhones, through whichever means. Also encourage people around you to create content, because if we don't tell our stories, we'll not do justice to the coming generation, and we owe it to them to make sure that we educate people around us, to provide them but who we are as a culture. And we are very proud of our culture. We've done such great work in the past, and we can accomplish a lot more going forward. So please, my humble request to everybody, reach out, tell stories, create content. And if there's anything I can do to help, kaurfilms.com has all my contact details. Just come there and we can do something together as well. Thank you so much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Harleen Kaur and our e-Sangat. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.